Welcome to Whippoorwill Holler. I'm Miss Lori, and this is Mr. Brown. We live in the hills of Arkansas. We love the Lord. Keepers of the old way, but accept some of the new. We love to cook, and we love to eat. We love to garden. It's in our blood. It's how we stay sustainable and fill our pantry. We do a lot of canning and preserving. We live a sustainable life. We love our family. We work hard. And every once in a while, we like to dance. So y'all join us. What you want to start out with is probably about 3.5 pounds of pickling cucumbers. That should make about 10 cups. And what we're going to do is I cleaned them really good. I always take, I've got a brush that I clean my vegetables with out of the garden. And I scrub them good and get them good and clean. And now I'm just going to slice them up. You can see I'm slicing them kind of thin. I don't like them real thick. Maybe about 1/4 of an inch thick or so. And we're just going to slice all these up. I'm going to throw them in this bowl. Now, if you like a thick pickle, you can cut them thick. It's just whatever you prefer. These are really good cucumber here. They're good and firm. They're not starting to get soft or anything. I dearly love bread and butter pickles. Mr. Brown likes them too. And we're going to take our cucumbers. You see I've got them piled in there. And that's about 10 cups of sliced up cucumbers. And we're just going to, I've got some cannon salt here. You can take your cannon salt or you can take kosher salt. And I'm just going to take them and I'm going to put them in my big bowl. I'm going to put about half of them, and then I'm going to put a tablespoon of salt over them. Then I'll put the rest of them in there. Then I'll put another tablespoon or tablespoon and a half of salt over it. I can't help but eat them. They're so good and they're so crisp. So now that we got our salt over them, what we want to do is we want to just put them in the refrigerator. You can cover them, put them in the refrigerator, and we're going to put them in there for several hours and just let them sit. You can do it from anywhere from 2 to 24 hours, whatever you need to do, and that's going to crisp them up. Now, after I took my cucumbers, which have been sitting in the refrigerator for several hours. In fact, I put them in this morning. They've probably been in there 4 or 5 hours, which is fine. But I took them out and I run them through I rinsed them off really, really well to get a lot of that salt off. So they're sitting here draining, and I've got me a bowl right here. And I'm going to put them back in the bowl. These are really good cucumbers. They're just I think they're called a Boston pickler or something like that. And I've got 2 cups of a sweet white onion. That's all this is. Use whatever kind of onion you got. I usually try to find the Valdelias, and I've got some out in the garden, and they're called a candy, a yellow candy onion or something like that. Anyways, we get them from Haas Tools is where we get them. So I'm going to take my clean hands and I'm going to mix all this onion and cucumbers together. And I got me a pot over here on the stove. And that's where we're going to cook our vinegar brine for our pickles. I'm going to turn it on. And this is going to come together real quick. What I've got in here is I've got 2 cups of just regular white vinegar, your pickling vinegar. And then I've got a whole cup of apple cider vinegar. And I've got 2 cups of white sugar. And I've got a half a cup of brown sugar. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. You know, Mr. Brown and I really don't eat a lot of pickles, but we do love bread and butter pickles. That's just something that we like. We love them on our hamburgers. We just like to eat them. I've got pickles in the pantry right now from 2 years ago. Dill pickles. I've got pickled green tomatoes. I've got pickled okra. So we really didn't need any kind of dill pickles. Now I did put up some hot dog relish and stuff like that. But we're just not real big pickle eaters. But with this being just a easy refrigerator bread and butter, and it'll be kept in the refrigerator, all we have to do is just go in there and eat them. And they seem to stay really crisp, and that's the way I like them. Now you can use some of that pickling crisp, the pickle crisp, if you want to. I know some people put alum in their pickles, stuff like that. So if you're not one to can or even to water bath anything, this is a really good thing. And I mean, it's kind of like the way I do a lot of my sauerkraut. I'll just put it in a big jar and I'll ferment it. And when it's where I want it, I just put it in the refrigerator. And we just eat on it as we go because it's so good for your gut. And that way, if you're not canning it, it doesn't lose all the good stuff that's good for your gut. Now, I do can a lot of my kraut, and this is why, because we love it. It's not just something we eat for our gut. It's just something we really like, and I want it to be shelf stable, so I do can it too. So I'm going to let this come up to a boil. Let the sugars dissolve, and I'm going to put, let's see, sorry about that. I need 3 teaspoons. I ain't got my glasses with me. I don't know how I done that. I need 3 teaspoons of yellow mustard seeds. And there's a little bit of the brown mustard seeds in there too mixed up. So there's 3 teaspoons of mustard seeds. Your yellow is not as spicy as your brown mustard seeds. I need 1 teaspoon of celery seed. And I need a half a teaspoon of turmeric. And this is what gives the bread and butter that really special taste, but also is what gives it that color too, that brine, that color. Whoops, I put a whole teaspoon. I said half a teaspoon. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. Turmeric's good for you, so put a whole teaspoon. That's what I get for standing there talking, huh? It ain't gonna hurt nothing. So our cucumbers and our onions are sitting there, and they smell so good. In fact, I think I'm going to eat one of these cucumbers. And they're still crispy. And all we're going to do is bring this up to a boil. Let everything do its thing in here. Dissolve and come together. When it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to let it cool down. So, I'm going to find my funnel. It's probably back behind me. And then we'll get to putting our pickles in the jar. So I went and got my funnel. And I found my glasses. So, we're getting started on our bread butter pickles. We're going to get them in this gallon jug. You can do this in a couple of quarts if you want to. If you don't want to do it, if you ain't got a gallon jug, you can get gallon jugs. I'll tell you where I get a lot of mine. That's at school, because we'll empty out a pickled jug or just anything that sometimes we get in a glass jug, gallon jar, and they usually let me have the jars. But I do so much fermenting and storing so much stuff that I use them up. So I bought some, I bought some from Amazon, and I've also bought some from Azure Standard. So any of y'all that are familiar with Azure Standard, you can get the jars, gallon jars, and you can get even the wide mouth lids, unless they're out. Sometimes they're out. And make sure that when you bring your cucumbers out of the refrigerator, that you really rinse them good and get most of that salt off of them. Because if you don't, they're going to be really salty. I heard it thunder, and that's what I was looking at. I thought, yay, rain. So you can see how the 10 cups pretty much filled up the gallon jar. It looks really pretty too. I keep trying to pull my shirt up and I'm messing with my mic here. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to pull it off there. But first I'm going to get something before I burn my fingers off. I'm going to pull it off there. And I'm going to let it cool down just a little bit because it's really too hot to pour over my cucumbers just yet. You know, there's a lot of different pickle recipes out there, and I've got so many written down. I've got my grandma's, I've got cookbooks full of them, and even my subscribers have sent me recipes, and they're all good recipes. But when you look at them, they're pretty much all the same. Just maybe different amounts of vinegar or sugar or something. But behind every good recipe, there's a good cook. So, and there's always a story behind it. So always remember that. We all have our own ways of doing things and recipes, and we remember how our grandparents and our mamas done it and everything, and it's just all a good thing. There's never anything wrong about it. So never think that you're doing something wrong. You're just doing it your way and the way you like it. But so many different pickle recipes. I know my mother-in-law used to make a lime pickle, and I know a lot of people like them lime pickles, and I just never did. I never did like them, but I know a lot of people do. They're one of them old-fashioned recipes that people would do because they kept for a long, long time. But anyways, we're going to let this cool off just a little bit more, then we'll pour it in our jar. So pretty. Still a little bit warm, but it's not scalding hot like it was. I'm going to stir it up again. I think I can take this and pour it right in here. Maybe with not making a mess. Hopefully. Now, you can tell that it's not covered it, but the pickles will eventually settle down in there. I'm just going to kind of push them down. And if you got some kind of weight you want to put down there, you can. I'm not really worried about it. They're going to be in the refrigerator. They're going to start settling down. And every once in a while, I'll go in there and I'll take the lid off, a taste of them, and see where they're at, and kind of push them down in that brine. So after putting that brine in there and pushing them down, it doesn't fill the whole jar up, but that's okay. It smells like bread and butter pickles. And it's so funny, I can smell that mustard seed. And of course it smells like mustard, so. But then again, that sugar and brown sugar in there and all that just, it marries together, and it's what makes bread and butter pickles taste so good. So like I said, if you want to put a weight or something in there, you can. But it will settle down. And you just put some kind of lid on there. And I'm going to let this cool down just a little bit more before I stick it in the fridge, though. I mean, it's not hot, but it's still a little bit warm. And I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator. And I'm just going to leave it there, and it's going to ferment, and it's going to just be good. You can start eating these in about a week. I probably won't wait that long. I'll be going in and out of them, tasting of them. And you can take them and kind of shake them up, swish them around. But anyway, it works. And it's going to be a pretty jar of refrigerator bread and butter pickles. Very easy, very good. And you don't have to worry about all the canning process. But just make sure you always keep them in the refrigerator until you get them made up. And I'll tell you something else that I do. When I have something like this in a big jar in the refrigerator, say I get a few cucumbers and, you know, I'm not ready to eat them right then. I don't want them to ruin. So I will clean them good, clean them up, chop them up, and I'll stick them right in here. So it's a good thing to do. So anyways, I hope y'all like this recipe. And if y'all want to make some bread and butter pickles, y'all going to really like this recipe. And you can also do dill pickles this way. You can just do them in the refrigerator. No canning process involved. But I'll put a link below because I did make some pickled tomatoes, green tomatoes, and I pickled okra. And I just used the same brine for all of it because we really love pickled okra. And okra is so good for you. But anyways, I also have, last year I made pickled squash. I still have some of that, and I've got a video for that, and I'll put that down in the description box too. So anyways, y'all try this recipe. I really think if you like bread and butter pickles, you'll really like this recipe. It's easy, and it's so good. So, guys, I hope y'all's garden is coming off good. I see pictures on Facebook and on YouTube and different things. It looks like people's gardens are really doing good this year, and I'm so glad. Ours is doing good. We're going to have a lot put up for the winter time, and that's just always a big blessing. So, y'all take care. Y'all know we love you, and you know God loves you. So, y'all come back and see us here. We'll be back in a couple of days, and like I always say, we'll be doing something because we're always doing something around here. Bye, everybody.